it will be more. There is a in a tropical countries like us specifically, the estimation needs to be thoroughly done. Which sector is what contributing? Even though linked, the climate change is linked to both economic urbanization, but this is being blamed, and it captures the atmosphere. Even there are inconsistencies in the viewpoint across the people. This is the one, the how in the different sectors will contribute as reported by the FAO. And the climate change affects animal production in 4 ways. And first is because of climate change, because of disasters, low feed availability is a problem. Animals won't get a feed. And the second one is, it is impacting on livestock forages, forage crop production, and its quality is changing because of salinity and all. There are changes in the distribution of livestock diseases and pests because of extreme cold, extreme heat, humidity and all. The direct effect of extreme weather events on animal growth, production, reproduction and health are also the impact that is causing. Here you can see how because of water availability changes, because of flood or drought, change in the quantity and timing of precipitation will affect the livestock production. With respect to feed, it affects, and we are going to lose our genetic diversity. And in respect to the livestock health, there will be a change in pattern and range of vector-borne diseases. Specifically, this livestock, even it is not only going to affect livestock, even the zoonotic diseases which are transferred from the animals to the human beings, those disease pattern is also going to change because of, and there is an increase in heat-related mortality and morbidity. You see, one can visualize here how heat and humidity will cause the animal, which will bring the animal into the distress. Heat will lead to the decreased activity. Decreased activity will lead to the less feed intake, nutrient deficiency. As a result, on the other side, because of heat, we will lead into a panting and respiratory alkalosis, which I can't go in depth to make you to explain. And the acid-base imbalance will be there, and all these together will lead to the poor efficiency and decreased performance. Decreased performance is nothing but a low profitability, and it not only affects the production. You see, in case of agriculture, we can think of yield. When we are talking with the life of an animal, it is not only a production that matters, it is a reproduction also equally that matters. If reproduction is affected, whether the animal is live or not, it is of no use for the producing. If it doesn't produce, land will be there, land will not multiply. But that is not the case with animals. Animals will multiply. So production and reproduction both are affected. As reproduction is affected, there is a danger of extinction of breeds. There is a danger of extinction of the diversity also. These are the mitigation strategies the entire world is looking forward in the livestock sector, and in the housing, in nutritional modification, there are many biotechnological applications and improved health services are there. In animal shelter we can design in a way where better ventilation, better to control the heat waves, we should design accordingly. And we need to develop a cooling system. In one of the university in India, Tamil Nadu Veterinary University, for animals, they have developed a fanning system based on the gobar gas. Means the how methane production. We are blaming the fermentation of dung leads to the methane production. The same methane, instead of leaving it to the environment, we can use it for electricity generation. That can be used for running the for adaptation strategy to develop a cooling system, sprinkle system, forced ventilation. These are all the measures in the animal management, housing management side. Coming to the nutritional modifications, the first day our professor from Pakistan was also shifting from the fiber to the concentrate feeding is a solution. There are many things which can be done. Seasonal specific feeding, we can do it so that the resources can be, fiber feeding can be reduced, feeding fats and concentrates as he pointed out, and vitamin and mineral supplementation, I will deal with it. There are certain plant products, if we use them, the methane production will get reduced from the animals from the out of enteric fermentation. And water requirement, the biotechnological applications, in which we are now under the threat of extinction of many breeds. India was so rich in diversity that we are having around 46 cattle breeds. But for your information, out of that, 50% of them are under extinction. We find them in the farms. The breeds like Concrage, Sahiwal, which are distributed across India and Pakistan, now are very well doing in the countries like Brazil, but we are not unable to conserve them in a good number. So biotechnology can help us to preserve the either in the mode of embryos or in the form of embryo transfer technology we can apply, and we can preserve the breeds for the future application like through. And another is genomics, proteomics, embryo transfer, and even we can go now. The efforts are on to identify the genes responsible for heat resistant and the heat tolerant, to adopt them into our breeds by using the biotechnological applications. And another thing is that we have to improve our service towards the farming community. It is not that the service should be in a way that we should be at the doorstep when he needed us. You see, when animal is ill, we should reach out to the farmer within a specified time. It's so much time-oriented, time-frame activity. So in that case, if we improve the health service mechanism like monitoring and control, rapid investigation of outbreaks, and geographic information system to get, in this area we are working now to tell you to manage the improve our health services. We are identifying each animal in the country. A new project has been launched like Aadhaar, means identification number given to the human beings. We are in the next 5 years, we are targeting to identify all the animals in the country. In the first stage as a milch animals, then we want to shift on ourselves to small ruminants, sheep and goat, and so on. Probably that can help us in improving the health services. And again, these are the strategies you can adopt in depth to tell you the production adjustments we can think of any country for that sake. We can reduce the number of livestock and we can increase the productivity. As I was pointing out in my initial presentation, we are first in milk production, we are first in population also. How it can be thought. And breeding strategies, identifying and strengthening the local breeds. And the Concrage, what I was telling, it is producing in Brazil around 18 liters of milk per day. Like that, through selection, through proper breeding, they have upgraded that breed to that level. Probably in that sense, we can also look forward of many of the Indian breeds and indigenous breeds so that they will be more tolerant to the local climate, and at the same time productivity will be enhanced. Improving the local genetics also through crossbreeding. You will be wondering if I quote that, though we are having 46 breeds of cattle, but half of our population is nondescript. Half of our population is nondescript, means that population doesn't belong to neither of the breeds. Because of unplanned breeding and indiscriminate breeding, the population is large. Probably those can be crossbred with the superior germplasm of indigenous breeds, and removing or introducing subsidies, insurance systems are needed. Income diversification practices needs to be followed, and as we say, along with integrating the farming through this livestock early warning systems. The other day I was telling that livestock are the good one to detect many of the disasters, and whether we can develop models by using the livestock early warning systems. Specifically cat, dogs are also very much sensitive. We can use them as a productive assets in our, and I will go here for the directly how a methane abatement can be done in the livestock. We are blamed for that only. We are producing more methane. How to overcome it? It's not only it is a mitigation strategy I am concentrating. In a dietary consumption, increasing the concentration is one way, and another way is we can add lipids and oils like canola oil, sunflower oil. If you give through feed, there will be inhibition of methanogens and protozoa inside the intestine. It leads to the greater proportion of propionate versus acetate and biohydrogenation. This will help in reducing the methane by almost 25% of the methane production of each animal, I'm telling, based on each animal quantity. Another method is defonation. Monoxol and sulfosuccinate are the defonating agents which will reduce the protozoa, which will kill the protozoa responsible for methane production in the intestine. And another is this is methanogen vaccine. Specifically in Israel they are following the same. But what is that? If we inject the vaccine, it will develop the immunity against the methanogenic bacteria. As a result, what happens when methanogenic bacteria is not there? There are two advantages here. We are going to reduce the methane production. Almost we are going to
2 minutes.
we are going to reduce the methanogen, and ionophores like monensin and losalic acid also can be used. Plant compounds like tannin and saponin are also having an antimicrobial activity, and as a result, we need to mapping out the climate resilient pathways for the poor. And there is an effort in Punjab, a case study is there in the Punjab state of India, wherein which 3,000 small and marginal farmers are targeted for the climate smart livestock agriculture, wherein which they are carrying out these activities, where conducting the artificial insemination to upgrade, and tool to guarantee an all the year round of supply of milk through estrus synchronization, and climate resilient sets they are developing, and climate proofing of registered goshalas are underway there, and ensuring the water availability and weather linked insurance. By taking these activities, they are trying to establish a climate resilient livestock models in the state of Punjab, and which is ongoing project. Like this, many activities they are planning, and there are many Indian initiatives like NICRA, National Initiative on Climate Resilient Agriculture, National Mission for Sustainable Agriculture, National Adaptation Fund for Climate Change by NABARD. These are all in the agriculture sector, while this NICRA is working with objectives like to increase the resilience of Indian agriculture, and there are two stages of this work: strategic research and technological demonstration. Strategic research is carried out in 21 Institute of Indian Council of Agriculture Research, of which 7 are the core institutes where infrastructure, state-of-art infrastructure developed. And on the other side, the technology demonstration is, yes, technology demonstration should be done by involving 100 districts through Krishi Vigyan Kendras. These are the 100 selected villages where activity is concerned, and this is the strategical model I want to propose for the Indian Agriculture Ministry is proposing to control the climate change, to address the climate change issue. And finally, the day before yesterday, Ujjwala means distributing the gases to the poor, Pahal ensuring the gas subsidy directly to the beneficiary, LED light distribution, rooftop solar production, one of the best model proposed by the World Bank, and in Delhi we are following it. We have made compulsory rooftop solar energy production. Electrical automobiles promotion are the areas where in which we are working to control the to mitigate the climate change. And finally, I want to this is the better adaptation strategy which I want to explain within the next 30 seconds. At a farm level, we need to livestock and varietal adjustment, drought resistant breeds we have to change, animal husbandry management practices we have to change, irrigation practices, crop rotation, diversification. These are the areas we need to concentrate. At a social level, probably in livestock sector like agroforestry development, community gobar gas, fodder bank concept can be induced. And at technological level, there the technologies like artificial insemination, fodder fortification, fodder enrichment need to taken up so that the resource can be efficiently utilized, and even the nutritional modifications also can be introduced on the large scale. And at an institutional and policy level, government policy and program we need to strengthen, and we need to coordination needs to be brought. Agro and weather advisory information access, and with respect to insurance, we are already introducing Fasal Bima Yojana in all the districts of the India, and strengthening the government structure is another area where we need to work. Okay, adaptation strategies should have an element of diversification, both horizontal and vertical. It should not be one way, and adaptation strategies should be a dynamic oriented one, so that as I was telling, that we have to mainstream the knowledge we generated out of the climate change adaptation. That is area we need to work. It is not that what we do at the Asia level, what we do at the country level, it doesn't matter. It matters the micro level adaptation research agenda. We should have a grassroots level insights so that we can, you see the farmer looking for a rain, that scenario can be changed. Thank you.
Thank you.